Hi, I'm August Keller, and these are my Oscar winner predictions. So let's start with Best Picture. I think the best bet here is Anora. It, won Critics' Choice, PGA, WGA. It hasn't missed very many nominations. It's always been there in the winning discussion, and the betting odds are on it. The punditry is on it. The Oscar community seems to be rallying behind it. So all signs point to Anora. Well, not all signs, because some signs do point to Conclave. It won SAG and BAFTA. So it's definitely the second in line, the upset potential. But I think Anora is a pretty safe bet here. Best Director, I also believe is going to Anora or Sean Baker. He won DGA, which is a guild, and he's been nominated everywhere. All the the betting odds, the community, the punditry, everyone seems to think it's Anora. I think there's some slight hesitation. The Brutalist won the Golden Globe and BAFTA. What's his name? Brady Corbet. He won. So he's probably next in line, and I would say there's a chance of him winning as well. But the DGA win, which is a guild win, seems to be a very strong indicator of what's going to win Best Director. So Anora seems safe, or Sean Baker seems safe. Let's talk about it. Best Actress now. This is a very close one, and if you're in like an Oscar pool, this is probably going to be the one that decides a lot of the pools. It's really between Demi Moore and Mikey Madison. I know some people think Fernanda Torres is in the mix, and she is in the mix. I mean, she isn't out of the question, but I think she's probably the third safest bet here. Mikey Madison, she won BAFTA, which I know some people say is the strongest indicator, but Demi Moore won everything else. She won Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and SAG. And it's tough. Mikey Madison also has what I predict to be the Best Picture winner on her side, which is a good indication. The community and experts seem a little split. Everyone seems to be leaning towards Demi Moore as a whole, though. The Vegas betting odds. And so I think I'm going to go with Demi Moore as well. I think, despite Mikey Madison being in the Best Picture winner, I think it's not the strongest Best Picture winner. I think it's kind of a soft Best Picture winner. And Demi Moore, she has just more signs, I think, just a wider volume of signs that she's going to win. She also seems to have the best makeup. Oscar is probably going to go to her movie too, which is also a strong correlation. So, and I also have heard that lately the Oscars have been nominating or awarding the older actress when it comes down to tight races like this between a younger and older actress. So it's tough, and I personally would prefer Mikey Madison, and I would not. I think it's kind of a coin flip, honestly. But gun to my head, I was just on Madison just yesterday, but I think I'm gonna go with Moore here. Best Actor is a lot more clear. It looks like it's gonna be Adrian Brody. Timothée Chalamet did win SAG, but Brody won everything else, and his movie seems slightly stronger. It's had more nominations. The community, the punditry, the Vegas betting odds all seem to be pointing to Brody. So I will go with Brody as well. I feel pretty comfortable with that. The one SAG win for Timothy does give me pause, but not a whole lot. Brody's been kind of in the lead the whole time, and I think he's a pretty safe pick. Onto Best Supporting Actress. I think this is a very safe pick because Zoe Saldana has been sweeping. She won Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, BAFTA, and SAG. The betting odds, the punditry, the community, everyone all signs point to Zoe. And I don't think there's even really a clear second place. You know, it could be Ariana Grande, it could be Rossellini, but it doesn't even matter because Zoe is a very safe bet, maybe one of the safest bets of the night. Similarly, Best Supporting Actor has also been a sweep. Kieran Culkin has won everything, even more so because he won things like National Board of Reviews and National Society of Film Critics. He's always been in the lead, and this might be the very safest bet of the night. I think, again, there's not a real clear second place, Edward Norton, I guess, but every single sign points to Kieran. Best Adapted Screenplay is also a pretty clear front runner with Conclave. Nickel Boys did win WGA because Conclave was not eligible there, but Conclave has won everything else, and again, all signs point to Conclave. Best Original Screenplay is a little more up in the air. I think Anora is definitely the front runner, but A Real Pain did win BAFTA, but Anora won WGA. It won more critics, and A Real Pain did miss Golden Globe. So the Vegas betting odds, the punditry, the community, everyone's kind of leaning towards Anora. I think that's a good safe bet. It's not a lock, but I think it's a pretty solid bet. Cinematography is similar, where it's borderline a lock for The Brutalist. It won BAFTA. It did not win Critics' Choice. That went to Nosferatu, and ASC, which is a guild, went to Maria, actually. But The Brutalist has the most nominations. The punditry, the betting odds, the community are all strongly going with The Brutalist. So, seems like a good bet. Costume design is also very clear. Wicked. All the pundits, all the community, the betting odds. It won Critics' Choice, BAFTA, and its guild. So, I mean, the guild gave a couple prizes to Conclave and Nosferatu as well. So, I mean, you could say they're in the mix, but Wicked is the front runner. I would basically call that a lock. Editing is a little bit up in the air. You could make an argument for all five, actually, I think. But Conclave has the BAFTA win, and that's like the strongest argument here. It's got the betting odds, the pundits, the community, and it seems to be the front. Well, Honora is the front runner for Best Picture, but Conclave's right there with it. It actually has more nominations than Honora, so maybe the Academy likes it more from a technical aspect. Honora, I don't think it's out of the question, but I think Conclave is pretty safe. Maybe not safe, but I think I don't have a problem betting on Conclave. Another one I don't have a problem betting on is makeup and hairstyle, which I think is pretty clearly going to The Substance. It won Critics' Choice and BAFTA, and it did really well at its guild, which is called MUAHS. It won the most awards there at that guild. The betting odds are almost all the way on Substance's side. The community, the punditry, all on Substance. Wicked, I guess, is in second because it did well with the other, with the guild, and it didn't miss anything else. And Nosferatu too, for that matter. Well, Nosferatu didn't actually do well at the guild, but anyways, it's The Substance, and again, that's kind of why that was kind of a deciding factor for me going with Demi Moore for Best Actress. Best Production Design also seems to be very clearly Wicked. It got the Golden Globe, it got the Critics' Choice, it got the BAFTA, and it did well at its guild. Conclave and Nosferatu both did well at the guilds too, but the betting odds, the punditry, the community, and when I say the community, I'm talking about Gold Derby and Award Expert. There's a lot of users there that are guessing, and and it shows you what percentage, who's going with what. But anyways, Wicked's winning Best Production Design on all the fronts. All the signs point to Wicked. Best Score, The Brutalist. All signs point to The Brutalist. It won BAFTA. That's really the biggest one. And, betting odds, Community, yada, yada, yada. Best Song. I think there's a little bit of dissent here. Some people think it might be The Journey, which is a Diane Warren song. But, El Mall won Golden Globe and Critics' Choice. The betting odds are on its side. The Community, the punditry. So, El Mall seems to be it. Best Sound. This one is a little mixed. The guilds, a couple guilds went with Dune. One guild went with A Complete Unknown. But BAFTA went with Dune. The pundits, the betting odds, the Community, again, all on Dune's side. Let's go with Dune. A Complete Unknown is there, probably second place. I guess you could say it's in the mix. The betting odds aren't that bad for it, and Wicked as well. Actually, the Vegas betting odds have considered Wicked in the mix, probably because it showed up at all the guilds, and actually was nominated at a BAFTA, while A Complete Unknown wasn't. But Dune just seems like the wise choice. Again, Dune is probably going to win Best Visual Effects. It won the Critics' Choice, and it won BAFTA. VES, which is a guild, went to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but that doesn't seem to necessarily be as strong an indicator as Critics' Choice and BAFTA. The betting odds, Community, punditry went with Dune Part 2, so I will as well. Animated feature, that one I think some people are a little unsure about. Flow might be in the mix. Wallace and Gromit is kind of lurking, but I think A Wild Robot feels very safe. It won Critics' Choice and PGA. It's across the guild. It's been more recognized, whether that's in sound or editing or the Annies. Flow has a lot of recognition. It has a decent odds in the betting odds, and the communities, the like Gold Derby and stuff. They have Flow. A good amount of people are betting on Flow, so I think Flow is definitely possible, but The Wild Robot is the safer choice. Best documentary feature is I was pretty torn about. It looks like the communities are leaning No Other Land, and a good amount of the punditry like No Other Land. The betting odds are actually leaning towards No Other Land. No Other Land won like the Indie Spirit Awards and Los Angeles Film Critics Association, National Society of Film Critics, and a lot of big film critics. And it was nominated at BAFTA. But the guilds like PGA, ASC, and DGA all went with Porcelain War. And a good amount of pundits that I trust went with Porcelain War. And the Vegas betting odds aren't bad for Porcelain War. Porcelain War is actually second in the Vegas betting odds. So, I don't know. I think the guilds were really the deciding factor for me at winning DGA. So I'm going with Porcelain War. But No Other Lands definitely seems like a very possible option, and this might be one where this is one that I'm more worried about for sure. Speaking about categories that I'm very worried about, Best International Feature is probably the one that I'm most, either this or Best Actress. These are like the two that I found myself going back and forth on a lot. If you're going with the guilds and all the precursors like Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and BAFTA, Amelia Perez seems like the right choice. It's basically swept. Ben Zauserman, he does this odds calculation where it's just like kind of based off of evidence, what would you go with? And he picked Amelia Perez. A good amount of the communities on, about 25% of people think Amelia Perez is going to win. But, there's obviously a lot of noise around that movie. And it's at the same time, I'm Still Here has become this very Cinderella darling of the Academy Awards circuit. And, these two facing off is kind of a perfect storm. So despite all the, precursors pointing to Amelia Perez. A lot of pundits, the Vegas betting odds, and even the online community, they're all going with I'm Still Here. And I'm very torn. I don't like, it seems like the momentum has shifted. But I'm sticking with the cold hard evidence. I don't want to like read and try to read tea leaves when I don't really even know. I can't pretend to know what the momentum actually is. BAFTA still went to Amelia Perez, and I'm Still Here, was nominated there. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Amelia Perez, but this is maybe the biggest coin flip for me. I'm gonna learn a lot about the whole Oscar race with this one for sure. On to the shorts, which I think maybe some people don't care about, but I think are very interesting because this is where you make or break your Oscar pool. So I really tried to look into these a little extra. One thing I did with the shorts is that I also looked on Letterboxd and IMDb just to like see what kind of scores they're getting, how many people actually viewed the movie. And the pundits are pretty split. The Vegas odds are pretty widespread. The online communities can be split more here. But animated short, I went with Wander to Wonder. A big reason why is that Ryan Castleman, who has a YouTube channel as well that if you're interested in the stuff you should check out. But he pointed out that the shorts have an English speaking bias. If a short, like the last, I don't remember how, like out of the last 20, most, like a vast majority of them have been English speaking, and Wander to Wonder is the only English speaking short here in the animated shorts. It also has the best Vegas odds. It also won a BAFTA award, and it won an Annie award. So to me, this is like a pretty, out of all the shorts, I feel the most confident in this one. The community seemed kind of split. The experts or the punditry seem kind of split, but I feel good about Wander to Wonder. A documentary short, this one I don't have a lot of evidence on because the Vegas betting odds are pretty widespread. The pundits are pretty widespread. The online communities seem kind of split, but one movie that the online community is leaning towards is The Only Girl in the Orchestra. A couple of pundits went with that. It's second in the Vegas betting odds. And also looking at Letterboxd and IMDb, it's actually the most viewed. It's the most seen movie out of all the options here by a pretty significant margin. So that makes me feel like that's enough. That's like the best case that I can come up with for picking any of these. So I'm going with the only Girl in the Orchestra. On to best live action short. Again, the only pick here that's an English spoken short is actually Alien. Alien. Most of the pundits are going with it. It's tied for the best Vegas betting odds. The online community, it's one of the two favorites there. It actually isn't the most seen according to Letterboxd or IMDb, but it is not too far behind, and it actually is one of the better reviewed. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Alien. So yeah, that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe. I also have an Instagram linked in the description. I'd love support there or here. But at the very least, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, thanks. Bye.